My name is Sian. Thanks very much to Mark Birkbeck from SIL in Lewisham for inviting me to speak to you here at this event for startups in London libraries today. Welcome. The goal today is to discuss some basic web design principles from a practical perspective that will help you when you're thinking about a website for your business. Using these basic principles, you will be able to build a better site with better outcomes for you and, of course, your customers. There isn't time for a live Q&A today, but if you do want to ask a question, then please use the button link to ask a question, but make sure you put your email address in that question so that we know who to answer. So before we start the presentation, here's just a little bit about me. I am a professional web designer and I build websites for SMEs and entrepreneurs just like your good self. I'm a certified Wix webmaster and trainer, and I was their brand ambassador in London for 3 years, running all of their workshops and their live events here in the city. My route to web design was a bit unusual. After training as a graphic designer, I went into sales and marketing for about 30 years. Yes, I really am that old. And from the late 90s, when businesses all wanted to have a web presence, I got involved with web design. But at that point, I would have to go to expensive coders and tech heads to build the sites for me for the businesses that I was working in. And just to give an idea how things have changed in that time, the first site that I was involved in putting together cost a whacking £350,000, and it took 6 months to build. But nowadays there are platforms like Wix, which are free to use and which mean that it takes days rather than months to get a website up. And once a site is up, you can manage it yourself from anywhere with a laptop and an internet connection. I found Wix in 2012, and it was a bit of a eureka moment for me because it allowed me to combine my design skills and my commercial experience. And what started as a side hustle, 1 day a week, is now my full-time job. There are, of course, lots of other website building platforms available out there, WordPress and Squarespace, to mention just two. But for me, for the business that I was putting together, it made more sense to choose a platform that was easy for clients that had very little or no tech ability to manage once they were built. And that's what you get with Wix. So, even though I use the Wix platform, the basic design tenets are the same, whichever platform you choose, and whether you're a coder or whether you use a platform like Wix or Squarespace or WordPress, etc. So I always start my presentations about the reasons why you need to be online. Well, a website gives you and your brand a globally accessible location for your business, so anyone anywhere in the world can access you. It will provide a visual and interactive experience for your users if you're doing your job right, and it allows users to find you, get in touch with you, link to your social media, etc. And of course it displays what you want to show off, and that might be products, it might be services, it might just be information. To compete in today's digital world, you really do need to be online. However, there are 1 billion plus websites and 3 more coming online every second. So you really do need to think and plan your online presence very carefully. And so, given that every website needs a business, you would think that any website is better than no website, but actually you would be wrong, because as my grandma used to say, you only get one chance to make a first impression. And in 94% of cases, the user's first impression of a website is connected with its design. And after one bad experience, a user going to your site is 88% less likely to return if they don't like it. 50% of users agree that the harmony between the color of the logo, the photographs, the text, the links, etc., it makes them think that you and your company are credible and legitimate. And it only takes a millisecond for, well, 50 milliseconds for a user to make a judgment about a website, and the visual design of that affects that first impression. So it really, really is important. So let's talk about the basics of design. Planning and preparation. Planning and preparation, it's the boring bit, of course, but it is actually the most important. And the better you do it, the more informed you'll be when you start your design, and the easier it will be for you to do it. Client research is really key. So find out who your customers are. Where do they shop? What social media platforms do they use? What is your target market? How old are they? All of these things will impact on the design of your site. Competitor analysis. Research your competitors and find out what they are doing on their websites. Be a customer and check their user journey. What are they doing right? What are they doing wrong? What could be your point of difference? And what can you do better? Decide on a primary goal for your site. That's one primary goal. And the reason for that is you don't want to detract from that primary goal. You may be able to get other goals achieved on the way, but if you think of someone like Google search, if you go to Google search, you literally have one address bar in the middle of the page. They don't tell you all the other businesses that they're in. They just want you to use that search. So decide what that's going to be. It may be selling a product, it might be making a booking, it might be filling in a form, it might just be getting in touch. But decide what your primary goal is, keep it in mind, and hopefully these other goals can be achieved along the way, but the primary goal has to be the focus. Then create a site plan. I'll show you a slide of that in a moment. Start with the homepage and then plan the hierarchy of your site, all the pages in it and the user journey. Make sure that each page has a direct route to your site goal. The next thing is to gather content. What is content? Content is everything that goes onto your site. It's the text, it is the photographs, it's the graphics, it's the video, it's the forms, it's everything. Gather that all together, including perhaps the colors that you want to use if you've already decided on your palette, the logo, etc. Gather it all together in folders that you can access and use easily. Then create page layout guides. These are guides, a lot of website designers just draw these, very easy to do. Draw your pages and what's going to be on each page. Make sure you know how you're going to get the customer to move through that information to get to the bits that they're going to need. And then when you've done that, the actual planning and the prep, then the design can begin. Here's an example of a very simple site plan. So the homepage is at the top and obviously the other pages flow from that. And this is just to show you that if you get to a page and there is no link to your goal, it's a bit of an epic fail. So please keep your goal in mind. Now then, let's talk about the basics. Well, if any of you have done any other designing, you might be familiar with print design, but print design is very different to website design. Basically, it's static. It doesn't move or change depending on where your eye looks or what your mouse does. Web design, on the other hand, is very dynamic. And that means that depending on where your user's mouse moves or their eye, the elements of the design can change and the page won't always look the same. Also, web design is always evolving and it needs continuous improvement and regular tweaking to keep it fresh and engaging. One thing similar, however, to print is that when you are beginning to design the site, the style and the aesthetic should be unique to the website's business and individual brand. It's important that you have your own brand voice. You have to consider the logo, the name style, and the tone, crucially, of your customer base, as well as obviously what it's looking to sell or do. For example, there's no point you designing a site that's fun and funky with wacky animations and a hamburger menu to sell mobility scooters to the over 70s. They just won't relate to it, and the business won't sell many scooters. So please remember that you are designing for your market and not for yourself. But there are some basic design tenets that are universal. So let's talk about some that will help set your site apart and appear more professional to your users. First of all, make space. Less is more. I can't emphasize this enough. Allow your design to breathe. It allows space for your visitors to clearly see what is on your site and to easily select how they want to interact with you. Space helps to give the eyes a break, and it allows visitors to pay attention to the individual elements that you want them to have a look at. So space is good. So begin your design for your site by planning for plenty of space to let your design elements breathe. Make sure that you are, if you're building a scrolling site, which most sites are nowadays, that each element in the scroll flows organically. Ask yourself how you can minimize the text and be more visual. A graphic or a picture really does paint 1,000 words. Remember that you have just 8 seconds to engage your customer when they get to your site. And that's a small attention span, and they're getting even shorter. So less is more. Next thing we want to talk about is color. Make color count. Decide on your brand palette and stick to 3 or 4 colors maximum. I tend to use 3 colors maximum. Pop colors work really well for highlights. So if you've got a brand, three colors in your brand, make one of them what we call your pop color. And I'll give you an example of what I mean by that in a second. When it comes to backgrounds in terms of your site, then white or pale backgrounds are more user preferable. Be really mindful of choosing a black background for your site. There is research to support that users actually prefer to interact with white or lighter colored sites, and that they are more legible to a lot of users. Create a mood board. Anybody that's got Pinterest will be familiar with these, and that will help you to consolidate the brand aims for your target market and look at your color and your representation. Here's a couple of examples of mood boards. Here's one for a juice company, Juice Life. And as you can see, we've got a nice, lovely green and very earthy tones and the kind of imagery that we're going to try and go for our target market. And here's one very different. This is for a upmarket home accessories business that is very clean and chic and lovely. There you go. This is the one I was talking about when I was talking about using a pop color. You can see on this that their brand colors are black, orange, and white. So we've made orange the pop color, and the link in the middle of the screen there on the home page is in the pop color orange. And on this next part of the home page that you can see, we've also used it as a column background, and we even got them to use orange chairs for this particular picture, right on brand. Yeah, amazing what you can do. Next thing is words. So the text on your site is really, really important. It's important to the content of your site. You must make sure that you check the spelling and the grammar, that the hierarchy is crucial. You want to make sure that Google can read your site so that it's good for your SEO. So you need to make sure that you use titles, subtitles, and paragraphs properly. You need to decide the tone that you want to set for your business. Are you informative but fun, or are you knowledgeable and serious? I mean, there are a myriad tones you can adopt, but think about what you are. Being authentic is the important thing, because it's much easier to be real and remain real than it is to take on a persona, and people are really mindful of that when they're engaging with you. It will, of course, depend on your business, but it is important to make sure you set the tone and maintain it across all of your platforms. Above all, keep it consistent, keep your brand consistent. So use the same email addresses, telephone numbers, all need to be consistent, as well as your brand colors and logos across all platforms. So, and also finally, please keep it simple and be mindful that your site is accessible as possible to disabled users. Next is headlines. Headlines are really important. This is what you grab attention with, and you can really have fun with headlines and fonts. You'll see that I'm very text driven. I love fonts. And they can really help you with the design of your site. Please make sure that you choose your fonts properly. Try not to use fonts that are not meant to be used as uppercase only. There's a lot of that goes on. I'll show you an example in a second. And ensure that you're using the best practice with the tags for your SEO. The Google bots will read your site, and they will make sure you know what you are doing when you are directing people around your site. So make sure you use the right H tags and alt tags in terms of SEO for your site. Here's an example of what happens when a font is used incorrectly. Yes, that's pretty horrible. So this font is meant to be used in what's called sentence case, not uppercase. As you can see in the top line, wrong. All fonts, uppercase doesn't work. It only works in sentence case. So be aware of that. Here's an example of a font being used beautifully, text and titles. Have a look at this site. All of the links for the examples I give on this presentation will be on the final screen, and you will be able to have a look at them in depth. I really recommend you have a look at this one. It's really beautiful. She does wonders with this, this font and this title on her homepage. Next, about the body. Okay, the body is the copy that describes your site, all of the little small print on your site. Keep the font simple. A sans serif font is better than a serif font. This is a proven fact. However, if you do prefer serif font, then choose a classic one like Times New Roman or Palatino. There's a reason why they are the best. Always use a web-friendly font to avoid bad rendering. If you select a font that is not web-friendly, it will render differently on different browsers, on different machines. So be careful. Optimum font size on screen is between, for body copy, is between 12 and 16. And select a maximum of 3 font families on your entire site. I sometimes use 1 because there are now so many weights within a font that you can get away with just using 1 font family. But you might have a font family for your headlines and then another font family for your body copy. Just be mindful of what you choose. Next, about the homepage. The homepage is the most important and primary real estate on your page. If you don't get this right, you are not doing a good job. It is the most important page. It gives users the first impression of your business. Above the fold is a term that comes from publishing, from newspapers in actual fact, and it refers to when they used to have a broadsheet magazine paper and people would fold it, you would just see the headlines. So it means the most important bit. And that's now adopted for websites too. It means the bottom of your screen. So please make sure that you have got all of the information on that primary real estate. It's your Harrods shop window. That's what I always tell my people when I am training. Think about how you have got as much information on there to make your user make an informed decision about your business and your site, and makes them want to move further into the site. It should have at least one call to action, CTA, and be mindful that if you are using scrolling pages, that you are organically moving them below the fold. And hamburger menus are also the most common now on sites aimed at younger markets, but please do not use them if your market is over 40. Generally, over 40-year-old people generally want a standard horizontal menu, not a hamburger menu. So next is competition on the page. Be aware that you need to decide on the information hierarchy on the page. Each window should have one clear focal point. Use your fonts and your elements on that page to define the information hierarchy. And again, make sure you use the correct H tags and alt tags throughout your site so that Google can read what you are doing, and that will help with your SEO points. And always, always, always keep your site in your goal of your site in mind. Next thing, and a particular bugbear of mine, is photographs on your site. Images are really, really important. Photos make websites interesting and visual. But when using photos, you really have to keep in mind that it's quality over quantity. Please make sure that every photo, the resolution is good enough for the size that you want people to see it. Make sure it's not pixelated. Pixelated or out of focus images, they really do challenge the credibility of your brand and your site, and it makes you look sloppy and unprofessional. Keep the focus of the user in mind, and if you can afford to spend money on photography, on a professional photographer, then please do. Try to use authentic imagery rather than stock. Sometimes it's not possible, but where possible, use authentic imagery. That's of you, your clients, your business, rather than stock imagery. If you are going to use stock, then make sure you choose well, because remember, 100 million other people could be using that photograph. So be mindful of that. Here's some examples of how key images can inform a website design. This is on 3 sites that I've built in the last couple of years. The first one is Lazo Studios. This is an absolutely wonderful artisan furniture making company based here in Sydenham. And as you can see, they make beautiful furniture. Please have a look at their site and their products. They're absolutely amazing. But as you can see, we did a photo shoot at a studio for their products, and we made their products the main feature of the site. We also did a video when we were on that shoot that day to help them tell their story, because it's a pretty interesting journey that they've gone. Next is a photographer, a client of mine, and we used this site to show the kind of style that she has, and I think you'll agree that's a beautiful image. This is just a landing page, and that draws you into the site and hopefully makes you to want to dig more. This is probably the best example of an image that informed the entire site. We chose this image because this lady is aiming at funky women that want, aimed at women who want funky nails, and this certainly says that. We ended up using this image as the main brand colours as well. Have a look. This is one I finished only last week, and this image too has become their brand image. They're a photography retailer based in Birmingham, and they do photo gifts. So this was a great way of giving that getting that message across very, very quickly on their homepage. The next thing to think about is graphics. Get graphic. Graphics can really, really help with your story. Use icons, shapes, GIFs, and infographics. Use video and animation, and incorporate video if you can into the design. Video gets 100% more engagement than static imagery. So please get used to using video in your stuff, as well as a little bit of animation. Keep it subtle, and if you are using video with sound, make sure that the user is able to control the sound. Don't have a video going off with really blary music. That's one surefire way to make people bounce straight off your site. Here's a couple of examples of sites that use graphics instead of photography to sell their services, and please have a look at these because the live versions are pretty amazing. These are two web design companies. This one called Work. Have a look at that, but as you can see, it's very interesting. And again, here, this is their homepage, and you can see there's no imagery on there except graphics, but if you actually see them live, you will see that they turn into other things, and they're pretty amazing. Okay, the next thing to do is to optimize your site. Please, please, please be mindful that if your site, it doesn't work on mobile, it isn't working. The market share for desktop versus mobile use is now, as you can see it on the screen, it's 50%, and it used to be 60-40 in the other direction, and it's only going to continue in that direction. Younger markets, especially 18 to 25, it's as high as 80-20 in favor of mobile. So you need to make sure that your site works on mobile. Finally, when you're ready and you think you've finished your design, test it, and test it again. Test it, get your friends to test it, your partner to test it, anyone, get them to do the user journey. Tell them to tell you what works and what doesn't work. Ask them to perform a task like fill in a contact form, and let them tell you whether it was successful or not. Do the tweaks that you need to do, and then go through the testing again. Finally, then you are ready to launch. So I'm just going to summarize the top 10 takeaway tips for you now very quickly so we can run through those. Number 1, less is more. Be allergic to clutter. Keep it simple, keep it clean, and add space. Number 2, homepage. It's your most important page on the site. Can't impress on you enough how important that is. It is your Harrods shop window. It is meant to appeal and draw people into your site and your business. Number 3, keep it light. Stay away from too dark or too bright backgrounds. Number 3, type can be art. Please use it as a feature of your design. Make the most of it. Use your titles and your fonts wisely. Number 3, go visual, go graphic, or in this case, go GIF. This is the logo that I produced for one of the sites that I've worked on. Number 6, keep your user journey and your site goal in mind at all times. Show them the way and keep that way clear. Number 7, really, really important. If it doesn't work on mobile, it really doesn't work at all. So make sure your experience that you're giving your users is as good on mobile as it is on desktop. Number 7, test, test, and test again. Can't impress on you how important that is. I always get my people that work with me and people outside the organization, as well as the client, to do the testing before we decide it's ready to launch. Number 9, keep an eye on your competition. See what they're doing, clock what it is, And if it's good, do your version of it and do it better. Number 10, keep promoting your site and your brand on all your digital platforms. Think of new ways to engage your audience. Think of seasonal things that you can do to leverage sales, for instance, Father's Day, Easter, Christmas, or make up your own campaigns which are designed to suit your particular followers. Monitor your SEO and keep improving it. Change things on your site to keep it looking fresh and to encourage the Google bots to move you higher up the rankings. That's how it works. And remember, good design can and does make a difference. So, some before and after examples of bad design versus good. This was a nail manicurist in East Dulwich who came to me and said she didn't know why her site wasn't bringing in any bookings. Well, that says it all. And here is what she now has. And her sales went up by 50% in 3 months. So that's pretty impressive. Next was Market Hill Photography. Again, they were not getting anybody through their online shop. And no surprise with a site homepage looking like that. So now this is what they have. They specialize in photo gifts, digital photo gifting. And so we made that very clear very quickly on the homepage. Have a look at all of these offline after the presentation. This was a cake designer who took half of her homepage up with her header. Not a good idea. She's using all her valuable shop window with that just the top bit, the header part. So this is what she now has, which makes very much the cakes the star of the show. This is a luxury apartment, apparently. But look at the picture that they've got. They've got lovely beds with really crumpled sheets, and it doesn't look luxury at all. This site hasn't launched yet, by the way, but you will be able to link to the most recent version of it. And this is what it looks like now. So as you can see, we've used a picture of the place, which is absolutely stunning. They've got a booking app on the top, and we have used some graphics to show what they get when they come to stay there. So a case study. I wanted to use a local business for this event to help demonstrate to you how important it is that you get a good website for your business. And I chose a new hairdresser who, funnily enough, I started going to when she opened at the end of October last year. My hairdresser had gone on maternity leave and wasn't coming back. So I was like, oh my God, who do I go to now? Anyway, I was up in my local area, Forest Hill, and I saw this salon. I thought that looks nice. And I went in and I became a client, which of course is great. However, she was new to the area and she didn't have a web presence. So all she had was people walking past the store. So I wanted to work with her to create a site that would appeal to the target market. She didn't think that having a website was that important. She had invested in a lovely looking salon, but this was only apparent to people like me who were walking past. She had she'd booked with an online booking platform called Treatwell, and they were charging her an absolute fortune for getting clients for her, 40%. Yeah, not a small amount. And she wasn't getting her own clients in. So I convinced her to do this site, and we did a professional photo shoot at her salon using a professional local photographer called Claire, who may be on the shoot. Hello, Claire. And she's from byballard.com, and she helped me put this site together. We went along and we did photography of the woman who has the store and also the salon, sorry, and also the salon itself. So we created it with professional authentic imagery to enhance her brand. and we wanted to ensure a simple user journey for contact and booking, and to encourage subscribers to subscribe for future email promotions to encourage them to come back. So here is the site as it looks today. And as you can see, she's quite a looker, is Radina, and a perfect advert for a hairdresser. She's got beautiful hair that she obviously does herself. And we kept it very, very simple. She does style, she does color, she does treatment. We took the color palette from the salon itself. And the photos, as I said, were done by Claire, who was an absolute whiz on the day. I said, I need a photo like this, Claire. And she made that happen. She is pretty amazing. But it does show you how important photography is. The site was also optimized for mobile, and we created a promotional video to announce the launch of the site, and this was posted across her social media platforms. We can now have a quick look at the video that we created. Hopefully, let's see. Will that work? Yeah. So as you can see, that little 30-second video says it all. And the amazing thing is that since that site was launched, which was only the 26th of October, which is almost a year ago, and since the day she opened, the results for the website and the traffic and the interactions for those first 22 days were quite amazing, especially when you consider that we went into this lockdown just barely a week after she had launched this, and she had to close again. But the results are here. After only 22 days, 156 site sessions, 120 unique visitors, sorry, and perhaps most importantly, 40 requests to book. That's 40 that have booked with her, and 8 who have already subscribed for further information. So coming out of that, coming out of lockdown, she's actually busy from December until January. So that's it. It shows you that having a good website is essential, and it really does make a massive difference. So the key takeaways there are having your website, making sure it's well designed, having good photography, and making sure that your customer's user journey is really good and that your goal is always in sight. So that's just nearly it from me. I just wanted to say quickly a thank you to Mark and British Library for allowing me to speak today. I hope you enjoyed that. I know it was rather long and a lot of information in there. If you would like a copy of the presentation, please email me. I'll be happy to send you a copy of it and all the notes. I'd like to thank Mark for inviting me. I'd like to thank Claire for the photography on Radina's site. You can contact me by email, no problem whatsoever. There are links at the end of this on the next page. There's also a very kindly, Wix have agreed to give me 150% off vouchers for anybody attending this presentation today. So if you are interested in building your own Wix website, then please drop me an email and I will send you the voucher code. And you can have a go. Don't forget, if you want to post a question, please do on the button and I will answer that too. That's it from me. Thank you very much. There's your site links. Bye.